Imagine sitting in a doctor's waiting room right now. You have, what, exactly 10 minutes to explain 49 different completely overlapping physical and mental symptoms that you've had for the last 6 months.
Oh, yeah. It's an impossible task.
Right. You're hot one minute, then you're anxious, your joints ache, your confidence is just inexplicably gone, and you haven't slept a full night in weeks. And just to make it completely unfair, one of the main symptoms is severe memory loss.
Exactly. And then the doctor calls your name, and you're just supposed to go.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate high-pressure communication bottleneck.
Yeah,
You're
totally.
stepping into this tiny 10-minute window carrying months of this chaotic, invisible suffering.
Yeah.
And you have to somehow translate that into actionable medical data for a person who is just staring at a computer screen.
Exactly. And that exact scenario is precisely what we are tackling today. In this deep dive, we're exploring the ultimate cheat codes for that 10-minute window, specifically looking at the perimenopause and menopause transition.
Which is so needed.
It really is. We have a massive stack of sources today. We've got official medical guidelines, clinical toolkits, huge app store databases, and validated patient checklists. Our mission is to uncover the absolute best symptom tracking apps and tools you can use before you ever step foot inside that doctor's office.
Because, I mean, the simple truth of the current medical system is that the prep work you do beforehand completely dictates the quality of care you get in those 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You have to arrive with the evidence already compiled.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because walking into a GP's office to discuss menopause without a symptom tracker is, well, it's basically like taking your car to the mechanic and just saying, it makes a weird noise sometimes.
Right, yeah, that's a perfect way to put it.
Instead of giving them the exact diagnostic code from the dashboard, you're leaving them guessing, which leaves you totally vulnerable to being dismissed. But before we get into the tools, we have to talk about how menopause is actually diagnosed today. It's a huge shift, right?
It is. What's fascinating here is that the official protocol has completely moved away from what most people expect a doctor to actually do.
Like doing a blood test.
Exactly. According to the nIC guidelines, and those are the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, basically the official rule book for UK doctors for women over 45, menopause is diagnosed purely based on symptoms, no blood tests.
Wait, hold on. Purely on symptoms? That seems like a massive risk to me. If a woman comes in with extreme fatigue, mood swings, and joint pain, how does the GP know it's perimenopause and not like a severe thyroid issue if they aren't drawing blood?
That is the exact question so many patients ask. And the reason blood tests aren't the primary tool anymore is just because of the biological reality of perimenopause.
Yeah.
Your hormones are fluctuating wildly day to day or even hour to hour.
Right, it's not a straight line.
No, not at all. If a doctor tests your FSH, that's follicle-stimulating hormone, or your estradiol, they're only getting a tiny snapshot of that exact minute on a Tuesday morning. It might look totally normal, but tomorrow it might crash.
So the blood test can actually give you a false negative, and then you're left untreated just because the lab work looked fine on paper that one day.
Exactly. The guidelines explicitly state that lab testing for these hormones is not indicated for women over 45 unless there is, serious uncertainty. The diagnostic power lies entirely in the pattern of your symptoms over time.
Wow, so that cluster of physical and emotional changes is actually more accurate than a blood draw.
It really is. Which means your personal data collection isn't just a cute little notebook you bring along to be helpful. It is the actual primary clinical diagnostic tool.
That makes the difference between signs and symptoms so much more important then, because in medical terms, a sign is objective, right? Like a doctor can measure irregular periods or visible skin flushing.
Right, they can see that happen.
But a symptom is entirely your own personal experience.
Yeah, a symptom is something only you can feel. The doctor cannot measure your brain fog. They have no tool to quantify your health anxiety or that sudden, intense internal heat of a hot flush before you even start sweating.
And the sheer volume of these things is wild. We all know the stereotypes like hot flushes and night sweats, but these trackers are looking for things like recurrent bladder infections, headaches, profound joint pain.
Even the sensation of insects crawling on your skin.
Yes, formication. The trackers look for up to 49 different symptoms. 49. I mean, that is just a staggering number to keep track of.
It really is. It covers virtually every biological system in your body.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why trying to rely on your memory in that waiting room is just a total setup for failure.
Which brings us to the really dark irony of this whole thing. One of the main symptoms of menopause is brain fog and poor memory.
Right. It's so unfair.
It's completely unfair. The medical system basically expects you to perfectly recall this massive list of overlapping symptoms spanning months, all while you're experiencing brain fog. How are you supposed to bridge that gap without just handing them a chaotic, tear-stained journal?
Well, they're bridging it with technology now. The digital landscape for women's health has evolved so fast. We now have these heavy-hitting smartphone apps designed to do the heavy lifting for you.
Which is great, but the App Store is completely flooded with wellness apps.
Yes, and that is a crucial point. Not all of them meet actual clinical medical standards. You have to be careful.
Right. But one tool that consistently rises to the top in the sources is an app called Health and Her. And the thing that really makes it stand out is its ORSI rating.
Oh yeah, the ORSI score is huge.
For those who don't know, ORSI stands for the Organization for the Review of Care and Health Apps. They're Europe's largest independent reviewer of digital healthcare tools.
You can basically think of them as an FDA approval process for healthcare code. They rigorously test apps for data privacy, clinical safety, user accessibility.
And they are incredibly strict. Something like 75% of health apps actually fail the ORSI review completely, but Health and Her scored an 86%.
Which makes it the highest ever ORSHIT-rated menopause app on the UK market. That's not just a nice review, that is a serious clinical endorsement.
And it's completely free, which is amazing. It lets you track periods for those perimenopausal cycle changes, but it's way more than a diary. It functions almost like a personalized digital personal trainer for menopause.
Right, because it includes an actual self-care toolkit. It has interactive cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT exercises, built right into the app, plus pelvic floor training and sleep meditations.
I do have to ask about that, though. How does something like CBT, which is a psychological tool, actually help with a physical symptom like a hot flush? Are we just telling women to, think positive thoughts while they're dripping in sweat?
No, not at all, and that's such a brilliant question. It's really not about positive thinking. It is about neurology.
Okay, walk me through that.
So hot flushes are triggered by your brain's hypothalamus malfunctioning because estrogen levels are dropping. It mistakenly thinks your body is overheating and triggers this massive adrenaline response.
It's like a fight or flight panic thing.
Exactly. It's your sympathetic nervous system going into overdrive. What CBT does, and what these app exercises guide you through, is training the brain to downregulate that nervous system response. It physically calms the chemical reaction in your body.
Wow. Okay, so the app is giving you real-time neurological tools alongside the tracking. That is incredible. Now, if Health and Her is the highest rated, the Balance app is definitely the titan when it comes to sheer scale.
Oh, absolutely. Balance was founded by Dr. Louise Newson, and it has over 1 million users globally.
1 million users tracking everyday symptoms.
Yeah. The data scale is just unprecedented. There have been over 132 million individual hormone symptoms logged on the Balance app.
132 million. That is just, it's hard to even wrap your head around that number.
It is. But for you, the individual user, the real superpower of Balance isn't just that it tracks things. It's the synthesis.
The report it makes, right?
Yes. You spend weeks logging your tiredness, brain fog, low sex drive, whatever it is, and then the app takes all those chaotic data points and generates this simple, structured clinical health report.
You can literally just print this out or email it straight to your doctor, which totally solves that 10-minute bottleneck issue we talked about. You hand them the report and the brain fog doesn't even matter anymore.
It instantly changes the dynamic of the room. And, we should also mention the Stella app. It operates a bit differently because it's mostly available through employer partnerships or health insurance programs.
Yeah, looking at Stella, it seems hyper-focused on habit modification rather than just data logging.
It is. Stella analyzes your specific symptom profile and gives you personalized multi-week plans to build healthier habits. Habits that are clinically proven to ease your specific issues, like targeted stress management or sleep hygiene.
And their data is pretty impressive too, right?
Very. They report that 75% of women who complete a Stella plan see a tangible improvement in their symptoms.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We've been talking about Health and Her, Balance, Stella. These are dedicated women-led tools. But the tech landscape as a whole has been shockingly behind. Look at Apple Health.
Oh, the Apple Health situation is wild.
Right. The native iOS app that comes pre-installed on hundreds of millions of iPhones only recently updated to include perimenopause and menopause
Which
tracking.
is just a massive oversight when you think about the demographics of who buys iPhones.
Exactly. Think about the timeline. Apple Health launched in 2019. It went 7 full years without these basic women's health tracking features. Half the global population goes through this, and the biggest tech company on Earth just had a 7-year blind spot.
It really highlights why these dedicated apps had to be built in the first place. They had to step into this massive medical and technological void.
Completely. They were solving a problem no one else wanted to touch.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, what all of these tools are fundamentally doing is transitioning qualitative suffering into quantitative data. And that is the true secret to hacking the medical system.
I really love that framing. Transitioning qualitative to quantitative. Can you explain exactly how that changes a doctor's brain when they're looking at your file?
Well, think about it from the perspective of a really busy physician seeing 40 patients a day. If you sit down and say, I'm just so tired all the time and my joints hurt, that is qualitative data. It's subjective.
Right, and easy to brush off.
Unfortunately, yes. In a rushed environment, qualitative data is very easily dismissed as, oh, you're just getting older, or you're just stressed at work.
It leaves way too much room for their personal bias.
Precisely. But when you hand that same doctor a structured report from Balance that shows exactly how many times your sleep was disrupted over 30 days, mapped against 22 specific occurrences of joint pain.
Then you're speaking their language.
Exactly. That is quantitative data. You are speaking doctor. It bypasses their subjective bias and fast-tracks the conversation directly toward actual solutions like hormone replacement therapy or CBT.
You are turning your personal, messy experience into undeniable, hard evidence. You basically become the project manager of your own health.
Which is incredibly empowering.
But as amazing as these digital dashboards are, the sources show the clinical world still relies really heavily on the analog heroes, the paper trackers.
They definitely do. Apps are fantastic for long-term daily management, sure. But the clinical gold standard mentioned repeatedly is a paper tool called the Green Climacteric Scale, or the GCS.
The Green Climacteric Scale, it sounds like something you'd use to measure an earthquake.
Well, in a way, it is measuring a seismic event in the body. It's a globally used, scientifically validated self-assessment tool. It takes the chaos of menopause and categorizes it into 3 measurable areas: psychological, physical, and vasomotor.
Just to clarify the terminology for everyone, vasomotor refers to the temperature regulation symptoms, right? Like the hot flushes and night sweats.
Exactly. It's your cardiovascular system's response to the hormonal changes. On the green scale, you get a list of 21 specific symptoms across those 3 categories. And you rate each one on a really simple scale of 0 to 3.
Where 0 is not bothered and 3 is extremely bothered.
Right. And what's really fascinating is that the green scale isn't just a diagnostic entry point. It's actually the tool doctors use to measure if your treatment is working.
Oh, so you take it multiple times.
Yeah. Let's say you take your initial green scale to the GP and they prescribe HRT. You'll take the scale again a few months later. A score improvement of 4 to 7 points proves what clinicians call clinically meaningful efficacy.
So it provides mathematical proof that the treatment is actually doing its job. That is so validating.
It really is.
Aside from the official green scale, the sources also mention these incredibly helpful printable checklists from advocacy charities. Organizations like Menopause Support, Rock My Menopause, and Positivity.
Yes, those are excellent resources.
Positivity has this fantastic 4-week printable tracker that's specifically designed to help you spot cyclical patterns over a month.
And those charity trackers are phenomenal because they visually prompt you to consider symptoms you might never have realized were related to hormones. Things like the formication we mentioned, or sudden breathing difficulties, or even changes in your gums and oral health.
But let me ask you a very practical question, putting myself in the shoes of someone listening right now. If I am exhausted, I have terrible brain fog, and my GP appointment is literally tomorrow morning. Printing out a blank 4-week grid and trying to retroactively remember a month's worth of hot flushes sounds like a complete nightmare. What is the actual best move for an immediate appointment? Should I try to backfill an app?
No, don't try to backfill an app. If your appointment is imminent, the Green Climacteric Scale is your absolute best friend. It is the ultimate snapshot tool.
Okay, so just focus on the present moment.
Exactly. You don't need a month of data. You just need to rate your current severity from 0 to 3 today.
So it's basically the ultimate cramming tool for the doctor's visit.
Yes, Exactly. And there's a massive psychological advantage to using it. Because the green scale is a validated clinical tool, it speaks the doctor's native language immediately.
It bridges that communication gap instantly.
Right. When you hand a completed GCS to a GP, you are providing them with a scientifically recognized severity score right there on the paper. You're
Okay.
formatting your pain in a way their medical training immediately understands.
Okay, so we have our data gathered. We've got our comprehensive app reports or our freshly printed green scale. But compiling the data is really only half the battle here.
It is.
The sources actually lay out a highly specific blueprint for how to execute the GP appointment itself to make sure you don't get dismissed.
The tactical execution of the appointment is just as important as the data. And that strategy actually starts before you even see the doctor, right at the booking stage.
This is such a great, actionable tip from the sources. When you call to book the appointment, ask the receptionist if a specific doctor or nurse at the practice has a special interest in menopause or women's health.
Because receptionists are the gatekeepers. They know exactly which GPs have done extra training or have a personal interest in prescribing HRT.
And equally important, the sources say to request a double appointment.
Yes, definitely do that. 10 minutes is rarely enough time for a straightforward issue, let alone a complex, multi-system hormonal transition.
Right. Ask for 20 minutes. Give yourself the breathing room to actually go through your data without rushing. Plus, the preparation phase involves doing a little bit of a sign reading, specifically familiarizing yourself with the NICE guidelines.
Guideline NG23, to be exact. It outlines the diagnosis and management of menopause.
Knowledge is absolutely power here. If you read the summary of those guidelines before you walk in, you know exactly what your doctor is authorized and recommended to offer you.
You transition from being a passive patient receiving instructions to an informed partner having a peer-to-peer conversation.
I love that. And the guidelines are publicly available for a reason.
Sure.
They're meant to protect patients. Another really critical tactical piece of advice from the sources is to utilize the buddy system.
Taking a supportive friend, a partner, or a family member into the room with you.
Right. This seems especially vital if anxiety, low mood, or severe brain fog are your primary symptoms. The cognitive load of a medical appointment is just really heavy.
It is. Having an advocate in the room who can take notes, remind you of the 3 questions you desperately wanted to ask, and just provide grounding moral support can completely change the dynamic. It stops you from feeling steamrolled.
And speaking of not being steamrolled, the advocacy tools are very firm on your patient rights. If you go in, present your quantitative data, communicate clearly, and you are still disappointed with the outcome.
Which does happen, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you feel dismissed or patronized, you have the absolute right to request a second opinion from another clinician.
You do not have to accept a lack of treatment if your symptoms are severely impacting your quality of life. Seeking a second opinion isn't an insult to the doctor. It is standard medical practice.
It's just about ensuring you feel heard and adequately supported. So what does this all mean when we put the pieces together?
Well, when you look at the apps, the scales, the appointment tactics,
It synthesizes into one deeply empowering idea. You aren't walking into the GP's office to passively ask, what's wrong with me? You are presenting a curated data dossier to a medical consultant so that you can collaborate on a solution.
that is the perfect way to frame it. And it's really important to realize that good medical professionals actually deeply appreciate this approach.
They don't find it annoying.
Not at all. If you look at the tools provided by the British Menopause Society for clinicians, they explicitly aim to help doctors manage these highly complex presentations. A doctor wants to help you.
Right, they want to solve the puzzle.
Exactly. When a patient arrives with a completed symptom checklist, a clear timeline, and a specific goal, it's a massive relief to the physician. It lets them spend that precious 10 or 20 minutes discussing the actual treatment, like the nuanced risks of HRT, rather than spending the whole time playing diagnostic detective.
It's a win-win that saves everybody time. Let's quickly recap the toolkit we've built today.
Great idea.
If you want a high-tech solution to manage your data over time, you have ORCA-approved powerhouses like Health and Her, which offers neurological tools like CBT alongside the tracking.
You also have Balance, which generates those structured printable reports from its massive database. Or Stella, if you're looking for guided, clinically backed habit modification.
And if you prefer the analog route, or you just need to cram for an appointment happening tomorrow morning, you have clinical standard snapshot tools like the Green Climacteric Scale.
Or those excellent 4-week printable tracking grids from charities like Positivity.
Plus the tactical execution, right? Ask the receptionist for the menopause expert, book the double appointment, bring your buddy, and know your nice guidelines.
Absolutely.
Whether you are just catching up on the field of women's health or you're literally prepping for your own GP visit right now, remember that your personal experiences, those 49 different chaotic symptoms, are valid, crucial medical data.
They really are. The goal of all these tools is to take you from feeling overwhelmed and anxious in that waiting room to feeling empowered, organized, and ready to speak the doctor's language.
Well said.
But this raises one final important question, something that really stuck with me as we looked at the sheer volume of data these apps are collecting.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, we mentioned earlier that 132 million individual hormone symptoms have been logged on the Balance app alone.
It's a staggering, almost unfathomable number.
It is. And historically, women's health data has been chronically ignored, dismissed as hysteria, or just missing entirely from clinical medical research. I mean, most drug trials historically didn't even include women.
Right. It's a huge blind spot in medical history.
Exactly. But what happens when this massive crowdsourced tsunami of symptom data is finally aggregated, analyzed by AI, and fed back into the medical establishment?
Oh, wow. That could change everything.
Could the simple daily act of millions of women tracking their hot flushes, their joint pain, and their brain fog on their smartphones eventually force a total systemic rewrite of how medical science understands the female aging process?
It's incredible to think about. By simply tracking your own symptoms just to get through your 10-minute appointment, you might actually be contributing to a global data revolution that changes the medical landscape forever. Something to think about the next time you're sitting in that waiting room.